Okay, just to begin, I'd kind of like to have you just state your name and like just a little bit about yourself, like where you were born and
Yes,
stuff.
okay. Uh, well, you've got me on the thing.
Yeah.
That's just. Uh, I was born in the year 1925 in Scotland, in a little island in the northwest coast called Isle of Lewis. Mm-hmm.
And today we're just going to discuss the rioting that went on in Detroit during the civil rights period of time in the 60s. And during what year or years did this rioting occur in Detroit?
It was during the summer of 1967.
Okay. What other like significant events were going on right now?
At that time,
Yeah.
I'm not too sure whether, what was there. Was it around assassination times of people? I just don't remember that too well. So I really will have to get a bit clearer about that. But now, the next question was there multiple riots?
Yeah.
Well, there was one big one that started off proceedings in the centre of the city, but from that one big, was all these satellite riots occurring all over because racial tensions were running so high when this began, and fires were being set, and it was a time of great distress for the city.
And what part of Detroit were you living in at this time?
We were the part of the city. We were not living in the city. We were living in Livonia, Michigan.
And this is like a suburb of...
A suburb of Detroit, about 15 miles from Detroit.
And did you see any rioting spread into Livonia at all, or?
No, the question here is, were
Yeah.
you in Detroit? No, my two children and I went to visit our relatives in Scotland that summer. But my husband was in Detroit, as he was in charge of a scrap metal company in Detroit, and a large percentage of their help was black. So the black men even painted a sign on the building and paint "Soul Brother" to let the rioters knew that there was black men working there. And they were trying to save it from being torched. Is somebody gonna?
Yeah, that's my dad.
Oh, it's your dad. Okay.
Now, and I know it's not really a question on here, but did you ever see any like fires or any other part of the rioting spread?
No, because we were in Scotland. Well, we were in Scotland that summer, but everybody else was watching on television in Livonia, because we were far enough away from the city. Livonia was far enough away from the city that they could turn the TV because the reporters were covering it. So yeah.
Okay. And what did you kind of see as the root problem causing these riots?
Well, probably racial tensions, inflamed by alcohol. All the different. There's like a mob
Yeah. And who would you say you think was most affected by the violence during these riots?
Well, I would say, in my opinion, I would say small business, all the small businesses along the main streets were very affected as the windows were being broken and people were just walking into stores and looting, taking stuff out. They were walking down the streets with television sets, radios, without paying for them. Probably both black and white were doing that. But
Yeah. Let's see. How were you and your friends and family affected? Like, did you have any property damage at all? Or?
no, because the business, state metal factory, they managed to. They didn't do any damage to it because there were people protecting it, and we were not affected. Our friends and family, except I had one cousin who was a policeman in the city, and they had to work they didn't have any time off.
Yeah.
But we weren't affected, Jordan, because we were outside the city, and the people in Livonia were watching it on television.
Yeah.
Let me just turn this.
I'll pause. And you said you weren't really affected because you were outside the city and people were pretty much just getting their information about it like over the television.
Getting over the reporters were covering it and I think the next question's a bit, were you or any of your friends and family ever in great danger? Well, only my husband who was driving into Detroit every day to try and protect the building where he worked. Also, the help were staying home because they were black and they were suffering a lot. Their homes were in great danger, and they weren't sort of discriminating and saying this is a white house or this is a black. They were just burning the city. It looked like. Yeah.
And I know that it's not on here, but wasn't there a situation where Papa almost had his car carjacked at one point?
I don't remember that.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll just ask my mom about that. And
maybe Marjorie would remember some. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How would you say the rioting was just like perceived by the people of Scotland while you were there?
Well, we are very glad we live in Scotland and that we're not over there. And they were horrified and sad, just a range of emotions, that there would be at seeing any mass destruction of a city that was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful city. When I came over to this country,
and like in your opinion, what do you think was that eventually brought the rioting to an end?
well, in my estimation, it was the U.S. military sent soldiers and tanks into the city, and they just came in. It was like martial law or something they called it, martial. There's a term for it.
Yeah.
And they sent the troops in and the tanks. And probably you know, along with all the other law enforcement that was in the city trying to quell this riot. I'm sure that was the last straw, the tanks and the military coming in.
Okay, and then really as a city, do you think Detroit was ever the same after that?
Again, it's just a personal opinion, but I don't believe Detroit ever recovered from the riots in 1967. And much money has been poured into it, building casinos, building sports areas. In the centre of town, most of that is going on, and there is improvements, and that's but when you just go a few short miles into the neighbourhoods, there's so many burnt down houses and abandoned houses that's never really been taken down.
Yeah.
And they're used as crack houses and different things. So however, I am hopeful. It's a wonderful spirit there that it will come back, and we certainly are hoping that this will happen.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for just sitting down and letting me ask you these questions.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure. It's my pleasure to do that.
Well, now it goes on to the report phase, so I gotta write this up.
I see. Very good. Thank you.
Yep.